Greetings and welcome to the family. Greetings, family. Welcome back to another episode of Three Docs and a Mic. I am Dr. Riaja Johnson, and I am here with my two lovely sisters to continue the discussion about their trip to Ghana. So I would allow them to introduce themselves.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Saphronia.
Greetings, all. I'm Dr. Komoia.
Okay, so let's get back into the discussion that we were having before. We talked about a lot of places that you went during your trip and the impact that it's had. And now I'd like to move on to Koforidua and allow you to let us know what was going on there and what sites did you see and any insights you have about that experience.
Wow. So Koforidua is in the eastern region, I believe. Koforidua is there. And it's close to Accra. Well, I say close, relatively close. So it's still probably about a 2.5 hour drive there. But it was very nice because it was in the mountains side of it. So it's just a different feel when you come from Accra and go into Koforidua. Some say it's the countryside, right? So it's very nice there, very, very calm when you go into Koforidua. So I enjoyed that part about it.
Yeah, I would add that just the drive, just reiterating the scenic view. And as we're going through the different villages and seeing how folks live similarly to each other and very different from each other, depending on where you are and what's going on in that village.
Okay, so what were some of the highlights of your time in Koforidua?
We visit the nightlife in Koforidua is very vibrant, very crowded. They have clubs, they have, bars, just nice dining facilities as well. So that was fun to see. We went to the village of Okrasi as well. And that was really nice. It's right by a river. It's interesting to see how entrepreneurial people are. If someone needed something, you have someone who sold that one thing there and everybody bought from that person. And then another person found a need and they bought from that person. So it was really good. And then the infrastructure is not as good, only because global warming, the big floods that they're having now, they're seeing worse flooding now than they have ever in the past, which is washing away a lot of their streets. So they're dealing with those different environmental issues that we're seeing all around the world. But to see it affect a small community like that is really major.
Dr. Komoia, did you have any insights you would like to share?
Just want to highlight the hotel where we stayed. I am blanking on the name. And so it's just very interesting how when you're driving for such a long time and you see mountain and forest, and then all of a sudden you hit a village. And so the hotels there, it's kind of like residential, and then there's commercial, and then forest, and then all of a sudden a hotel pops up. And so the hotels there, it's just very interesting how they design that. And I kind of noticed that all over Ghana, where it doesn't look like you're headed in the right direction of a hotel. And then all of a sudden it's this big hotel that pops up. And when you go through the gates, it's like this elaborate place. And so that was very interesting, but definitely highlighting the hotel where we stayed. And I'll find the name and put that in the description when we have that. And just highlighting how they're building, they're extending their space. And so observing the the folks who are doing the construction work and how they actually do construction work. And so they have a pile of bricks, and I'm assuming that a truck brought those bricks there, but the way that they actually get them to the next level is they stack them on top of their head. And so they stack them 3 high, and you see this very fit people doing this, as you can imagine, where they're stacking, they have a little padding, and then they stack big bricks 3 high, and they're walking up 4 flights of stairs to start doing the next level in the outer wall. And so that was just very interesting, seeing that, and then also the designs of the buildings, and just kind of guessing what each space is going to be. Is there going to be a window here? Just given the design of the hotel that we were at. But the hotel we were at had like patios adjacent to each other, and it was kind of nice. It kind of felt like a villa, where there's no elevators also. And so walking up the stairs to our hotel, and having folks that we know across the hall, and across the driveway actually. And we're standing on the balcony, and we're just kind of waving and talking across the balcony. It just felt so like comfortable, like we were just at home. So I just definitely want to just reiterate and highlight that piece.
Okay. So I wanted to go back to kind of tie in what both of you said, with Saphronia talking about the entrepreneurial spirit within the community, and the infrastructure. It's Komoia, you were speaking of the infrastructure of the hotel plus the building that they were building. So I was wondering, in regard to like outside influences, did you see like any type of colonial remnants, if you will, there, or were the people in that community more so kind of tight-knit, keeping with their traditions?
I think that that's a difficult question to respond to, because we don't know what was there before colonization. And so I think across the globe, as we think about the diaspora, there's going to be some remnants of colonization. It just is. And so because we don't know what was there before, it's kind of hard to say what's there now, and whether their culture has been inundated by colonization. I'm going to guess yes. I'm also going to guess that, just based on what I saw. So for instance, across from the hotel, there were folks actually smoking fish. And so they smoke fish, they get up really early, they smoke these fish outside, and then they sell them. And so I'm going to assume that that was something that was there. It may not have been done in that way prior to colonization, but it's something that is within their culture, and they're doing now. But it's hard to discern whether that was something that was after colonization or before colonization.
Yeah, I would agree. We really don't know what the village would look like, or what the community would have looked like before. But what we can say, when we were there, it was a very welcoming community. Everybody was very nice. We went there and we met with our cousin, and it's on her YouTube. We did a live, and when we were in that area there. But it was very welcoming, and meeting everybody, and the same thing, going back to auntie, just calling you that, and just the whole family, and the larger family just welcoming in. Yeah, I don't know what colonization even did to us, how we would behave differently if we were not stolen from the motherland and taken to a different place. I'm not sure what we would have done before then, but I just know that the entire environment was very welcoming. They're willing to listen, to talk as well, and just to talk about the similarities and the differences, and they just know that we're more similar than we are different. And they love to explore that aspect of it. Is just know you're home, feel home, So I really appreciate, and I love that about just meeting all the people that we met. in Ghana.
Well, we definitely have to share our cousin's link to her video in our description of this video, so people can go to her channel, support her. And I would venture to guess that we have all been impacted around the world in various ways to various degrees by colonization. I was just curious with regards to like Koforidua compared to like some of the other places that you had been before, because you mentioned that it was kind of like in the mountains area. So I was, in my mind, I was thinking that it was more remote, and that people didn't really go there unless they kind of lived there or had business there.
Koforidua is a large city. The
Okay.
city of Koforidua is very large, and I think
Okay.
it's probably the third largest in Ghana.
Oh,
But it is the city itself, I mean, it's a large city. They have a huge sports arena there. They have the stores, the shops, the open air market type thing feel that they're there as well. So it's a pretty big city. We were in the village when we went to our cousin's house in Okrasi there. So that was where the roads were sort of washed away a little bit more. And even on the roads getting to Koforidua from Accra, we saw young men that were just out there and they were filling potholes in the middle of the street. They were like, wait, stop, let's fill this pothole so that you can go by on on a thing. And they were doing that. And some of we stopped, gave them some money or whatever like that, because they did us a service. So that entrepreneurial spirit was like, oh, this is a problem. People need to get by. Let me go fill this pothole,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it was really good. And they're dealing with global warming the best way they can at this point. But it's hard because you don't know what's coming down the road. And that's every nation has to deal with those massive destructions of global warming. And how do you deal with that? And how do you keep up with the pace of life? And then also with the natural disasters and floods and everything else that is coming with that.
And Komoia, you mentioned that you saw a lot of fit men carrying bricks on their heads. It seems like that activity is kind of built into daily life, if you will. Very, very different environment than here in the United States, where more sedentary lifestyle is built into our daily lives. So did you want to speak more about that?
Yeah, I would just say that, depending on where you go across the globe, every culture has its way of doing things. And I think in the US, we depend a lot on machines to actually do the work while we're guiding the machine. And in other places that I've seen, and that's not just the US, I've seen in other places too, in other places, there's also just manual labor, where you have the person actually picking up the things and moving it from one space to another versus the machine doing it. And here in their buildings, that's what I saw, is just people actually doing the work. And it wasn't a lot of people, it was maybe max 3 or 4, building this huge unit to expand this hotel. And I think just going also back to your comment just around colonization, I think what's coming up for me is modernization. Hope I pronounced that right. I'm kind of tongue-tied today. But so like the modern way of living versus the rural way, or I don't want to say urban, but the city life versus the country life, that sort of thing. And there's a mixture. And so it just goes back to what I said, where you saw kind of city living for a couple of blocks, and then you see rural living for a couple of blocks. And then all of a sudden you see another city living where this hotel just pops up out of nowhere. And you're going down these streets and you're like, where are we going? This looks kind of crazy. And then when you get to your destination, we're like, wow, this was in the middle of all of this. And so that's just the norm there. Whereas here, you can kind of feel when you're in city, you can feel when you're in rural, areas. And it's not a surprise to have these things pop up. Whereas there, it's just kind of mixed all together, and it's just the normal way.
One thing I was going to comment on is the actual architecture in the building. When, like Dr. Komoia said, they put these cinder blocks on their head and they're putting them there. So it's cement and cinder blocks. So their building is not as rushed. Here in the United States, they say they're going to build a house. They have the house completely built and you're moving in within 3 or 4 months, because most of it's prefab somewhere else, and they drive in on a truck and then they put, paste them together kind of thing like that, jigsaw puzzle them in, where they're actually doing cement and brick, and they have to wait 21 days for the cement to cure. So they don't put another level on until the cement cures. So that just speaks to the longevity of the building, and how they're very intentional about everything that they put in the building, because you can't change the plumbing, or you can't decide to do something different when you've already cemented in a whole lot of other stuff. The hotel that we were in, I enjoyed the design of it, because it was the Aiden Homes and Apartments, was the name of the hotel. And it was really like a little studio apartment, kind of thing that you can do, or you can do a 1-bedroom where you had the living room, the kitchen inside, and the living area, where in the studios, it was just your bedroom, you had a bathroom, and then your kitchen was right outside of your door. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed the layout of that entire hotel. And like Dr. Komoia said, it was very convenient because we had people on the other side in their balcony as well. And then there was a little bar down there that was jamming. I mean, they had a great time. And again, it's in the middle of what we consider nowhere. How we would say, oh, wait a minute, this just popped up here and we have all these people, and the hotel was full. It wasn't that we were the only people at the hotel, it was full. So yeah, just seeing that, and then other guests of the hotel just interact and things like that. So it was good. It was really good. I enjoyed the quietness, but also the busyness of it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So any final words for the people before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I just want to highlight funerals is something that I noticed there in the attire, and I learned something, so I want to share my knowledge with everyone else. And one thing that I learned, according to our driver, is that if you were 40 and under and you pass away, then the funeral colors are black and red. And if you're 40 and older, I'm sorry, if you're older than, he said 55, but there's like 15 years in between there. So I'm going to say 40 and over. Then the customary attire is white.
Did he share the significance of the different colors?
Not that I can recall, but he did say that black and red is because they feel like younger people, if you're under 40, then you've gone too soon, like you didn't live a full life. And white is celebration. And so in celebration, you've lived a full life. And so everybody wears white to celebrate life. And I'm assuming that black and red, and maybe the viewers can help me out on this, is more of mourning versus celebration. Both could be true too, as well.
Okay.
And then I would just want to highlight the sustainability of the people that we met. Everybody wants to be self-sustained, and they're consciously thinking of how they're using their land. which as a scientist, I'm always looking at different things and sustainability and, environmental factors and how you're going to do this. But we went to our cousins and they have their own garden. He said that we can grow what we eat. So he's planning on growing everything that he eats. And then he's going to put in solar powers because he wants to, not rely on the electrical grid system that's currently in place in Ghana. But also just the using of the water, the polyfill water tanks by everyone there, and they bore holes and drill just like a well, so they have a personal well on their property as well. So it's very sustainable, the way that they're growing, and it's something that if you're going to eat it, you might as well grow it. So I love that, because you're not going to just go to the grocery store and just pick up things, and they just, it's a different mindset. And I think that people are changing here in the US to that mindset, because we don't know what we're getting in the grocery store. So more people are going into gardening. But just to see that as a goal and as for their family to be sustainable is just really cool. We learned a lot about a lot of plants we didn't see or didn't know about. And one of them, he's starting to grow his cocoa on his property now. So we saw the cocoa pods growing and forming. So that was pretty cool.
Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing your adventures in Koforidua. Thank you all for watching, and please like, share, subscribe, and remember to proceed in power.
Thank you for watching our reflections on Ghana. There's so much more, but we couldn't put it all in the episode. If you would like to ask questions, please drop a comment.
Thank you for being with us. We're sending you love, light, and positive energy. And remember to proceed in power.